This is the closest we've come to getting an answer about the mystery drones.
We don't do this lightly. We don't do this, this isn't fun for us.
Republicans target Republican Senator Cory Gardner, and this ad is ugly. The feds are about to make 21 the legal buying age for tobacco, so why are state legislators spending their time doing the exact same thing? Needy families exist where you wouldn't always expect to find them.
It's all around, and it's an unfortunate thing.
But help is there too. And we remember one of the brightest lights to ever shine out of your television. Next.
The drone that could have taken out a Flight for Life helicopter was not one of those drones. You know, the large synchronized mystery drones seen at night over eastern Colorado. That today, state emergency managers offered the most significant update yet on the drone investigation.
The near collision with a medical helicopter near Fort Morgan led the state to get more involved in the hunt for the drones. Now, investigators say that was just a single daytime drone, not part of the nighttime large drone swarms that have been reported over the plains. The state's Department of Public Safety has gone through 90 reports dating back to late November. 14 were determined to be people just flying hobby drones, nothing illegal. 76 of the reports have not been resolved. All of the public attention now has spottings pouring in. 23 in the last week. 4 of them are still a mystery, but most were determined to be harmless. 19 of them were just hobby drones or confused people looking at planes, planets, and stars.
Denver is going to start enforcing its urban camping ban again. A judge ruled that it's unconstitutional. Yet the city attorney's office tells me there's nothing in the judge's ruling that keeps them from enforcing the ban while they appeal the decision. City said it only suspended enforcement to recheck its procedures. That urban camping ban, which keeps people from setting up tents and sidewalks and parks and so forth, could be enforced again by the end of the week. We should note that's separate from Denver's homeless sweeps, which tell people to leave a certain area, and then the city comes in and cleans up any belongings left behind. The federal government is working to raise the tobacco age to 21. So when we heard that state legislators were trying to do the same thing, that seemed to be an issue with the Department of Redundancy Department. Anusha Roy took a look.
The fact that this was the first House bill proposed for this legislative session makes its own statement.
We want to keep these products out of teens' hands and kids' hands.
Instead of the patchwork of rules around the state, which is the case right now, lawmakers want a uniform law that a person has to be at least 21 to buy cigarettes, tobacco, and nicotine, including vaping products.
Tackle this crisis, frankly, that's just ravaging our high school.
Democrats and Republicans drafted this bill together that on the surface seems to repeat what the FDA already did in December.
We need to know what that looks like on the ground in Colorado.
By that, the bill sponsors mean they want to set up a new license stores have to get to sell these products.
That license can be revoked or there'll be fines.
The state would also crack down on online sales, particularly for vaping.
What we're saying is these online retailers won't have that license to sell their products online. Those licenses will only be going to brick and mortar stores.
That caught the attention of the Rocky Mountain Smoke-Free Alliance that represents small business vaping shops. They support increasing the age restrictions.
There are a lot of 18-year-olds that are still in high school that make a tidy little business out of buying vape products and then reselling them to their underage peers at school.
But don't like the online restrictions, which they say could impact the wrong people.
We're deeply concerned about that portion of the bill. There are a lot of rural Coloradans that don't necessarily have easy access to brick and mortar retail locations.
So a big part of this conversation, right, is about making sure that businesses are not unfairly punished just because the rules could be changing. The bill is also proposing that new businesses can't be within 500 feet of schools, but stores that are already open, near these schools, they wouldn't have to shut down. They would basically be grandfathered in if this bill ultimately does pass.
You think about it, sometimes at convenience stores, you've got a teenager who's selling cigarettes to another teenager on the other side of the counter.
Yeah, okay, so the bill is silent about it. It doesn't even address that, which is ironic, right? You're telling people you have to be more than 21 to buy a cigarette, but it doesn't say how old you have to be to sell it. The sponsor said, oh yeah, we're still talking about that, but it could also just be up to local authorities to decide what they want to do with that.
All right, thank you, Nusha. A child kidnapping case involving far-right conspiracy theorists has been made secret by a judge in Colorado. It's called suppressing a case. The judge's ruling means that the public is blocked from getting any information anymore about the case of Cynthia Absug from Parker. She's accused of plotting to kidnap her son back from Child Protective Services, along with armed help from the pro-Trump QAnon conspiracy theorists. Now, courts have tools in Colorado to protect sensitive information inside cases without just making the whole case a secret. And in my view, the decision to suppress this whole case, it's just going to whip up these conspiracy theorists. QAnon believers think that the child welfare system is part of a worldwide cult of satanic pedophiles that include Democratic politicians and Hollywood celebrities. QAnon believers say that President Trump is fighting a secret war against this pedophile cult with the help of John F. Kennedy Jr., who QAnon thinks did not die in a plane crash, but is going to come out and be Trump's 2020 vice presidential running mate. Cynthia Absug is accused of plotting an armed QAnon raid to retrieve her son, who was removed from her home due to abuse concerns. Making the whole case against her a secret just plays right into the hands of the conspiracy theorists. Colorado has avoided its first showdown over the red flag gun control law. A judge in Lincoln County rejected a request to take a man's guns there. Law enforcement in Lincoln County is refusing to enforce the new red flag law. So if the judge had approved a woman's plea to take away the guns from a man she says threatened her, then the sheriff would have been faced with a choice, and it would have been the first time we saw that. That case in Lincoln County was one of 5 red flag gun seizure petitions we've seen so far. 4 of them have hearings scheduled in the coming weeks. And we've told you a lot about the first case in Denver, where police already had a guy's guns in a domestic violence case and won court approval to keep them. Senator Michael Bennet is still trying to catch fire in the Democratic presidential primary. No fire, suggesting that there is smoldering happening would be charitable. And watching Meet the Press this weekend, it sounded to me like Bennet was tempering the bold New Year's prediction that he made for the New Hampshire primary.
I know I'm not high in the polls today as we start in this new year, but it is a new year. And my resolution is to finish in the top 3 somewhere in New Hampshire. No, in New Hampshire in the top 3. My hope, Chuck, is to come in the top 3rd in New Hampshire, and I'm slogging it out, in a venerable tradition of people that have put one foot in front of the other, trying to get to storefronts and get to town halls and see if we can make progress here. But at some point, the most important thing for us is to come together and make sure Donald Trump is a one-term president.
All right, now, so which is it? Top 3 in New Hampshire or top 3rd? Because it's a big field. I mean, top 3rd is a whole bunch of people. I gave Bennett's spokeswoman a call. She says that he misspoke on Meet the Press. He's not moving the goalposts. He still thinks that he can jump out of low single digits into the top 3 finishers in New Hampshire.
He's trying to just kind of blend in with the woodwork and hope that nobody notices him until all of this is passed.
Outspoken conservative critics of President Trump have a new political action committee putting pressure on vulnerable Republicans in Congress. And their very first target is Senator Cory Gardner. The digital ad dropped this morning. It basically challenges Gardner's manhood. So let's put the ad to the truth test.
Hey, Cory Gardner, ask yourself, why are you losing? Why do the polls show you headed for humiliating defeat in November?
It's true that polls show Senator Gardner losing to Democrat John Hickenlooper by double digits. Whether that's humiliating is your call.
Colorado trusted you to work for us, not Donald Trump.
Sides have been chosen, and Gardner is in lockstep with the party at this point. Gardner's in a box.
Hey, that's 9 News Democratic political expert James Mejia on next. And it's true, Gardner isn't straying from President Trump and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Many Republicans would view that as a positive. The Lincoln Project, a group of so-called never-Trump conservatives, including George Conway and national political strategist Steve Schmidt, they say that fealty to Trump is a reason to vote Gardner out of office.
You're just another Trump servant. Weak, frightened, impotent. A small man terrified of a political bully.
Some Trump-like insults from the never-Trumpers there. Calling Senator Gardner a weak, impotent, small man? Let's assume they're speaking figuratively and label that opinion.
So scared of his tweets, you'll do anything Trump orders. Blocking witnesses, stonewalling to keep Trump's corruption secret.
Let's pause it there. The Senate hasn't voted on whether to block witnesses in President Trump's impeachment trial. It's fair to assume Gardner will vote against witnesses based on his public statements, but the vote hasn't happened.
Either do your job, or Colorado will find someone who will.
The anti-Trump conservatives behind this ad either think that Gardner can be taunted into breaking with the president, or they're content to just mock him as he faces the toughest race of his career.
There are 30,000 Coloradans who are holding on to a new digital ID, and this is the first phase of the project where only state agencies will accept it. So you can't use it at a bar or at airport security.
It's not just something that you look at. There's communication that'll happen between perhaps law enforcement on the side of the road. They'll be able to, kind of scan it and get the information pulled up that they need. There's a whole lot more technology behind this phase. It's called the mobile ID.
So do not get rid of your plastic ID with the super unflattering photo of you. And remember, your plastic ID has to be a newer one, so it's Real ID compliant in October, or else you can no longer fly. This is happening across America. Chances are you're good. You just check to see if your ID has that little gold star in the corner. As of today, 97% of Coloradans have Real ID compliant licenses, so you get a literal gold star. Next, we remember a colleague here who defined personality in an effort to fight the Douglas County stereotype.
A couple more hours until our winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings are allowed to expire. Through 8 p.m. tonight, we could still see those gusts up around 50 miles per hour and just a little more snow left over. So right now on HT Doppler, we've got a good storm system through the Pacific Northwest. For us, we're really just looking at some really light snow continuing up in the high country. And then you come down to the Front Range and a nice quiet night. Although you probably noticed those winds have been whipping. Temps right now, we're dropping into the mid to low 30s. We've got low 30s out over the eastern plains with some spots in the 20s up in the high country. Now, I mentioned those winds, incredibly gusty throughout the afternoon. We're starting to see them back off, though, for the I-25 corridor. Still, though, in Boulder, 35-mile-per-hour gusts, and then you get up over those high mountain passes, still topping 50 miles per hour. So it'll be gusty through the overnight and then finally settling as we head into tomorrow. Overnight, mostly clear skies down to about 20 degrees. That wind coming in out of the south and west, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Looking at tomorrow, a bit of a warm-up for you with sunshine. 50s are going to feel pretty good, and then a little more snow moving into the northern mountains. Your 7-day forecast for Denver is a dry one. We are in the 50s for Tuesday, upper 40s for Wednesday, a little warmer Thursday, before we drop off in time for the weekend.
Kylie, thank you. Unique is an often misused word, even for those of us in the business of using words wisely. Unique is one of a kind, unmatched. Of all the people who worked with words here at 9 News, Heidi McGuire was unique. There was no one like her, which makes losing our former colleague to cancer so difficult. Kim Christensen remembers the one and only Heidi McGuire.
Heidi was the type of person that when she walked into a room, she lit up the entire place. She was that bubbly, that go-getter. I mean, she was awesome.
She radiated beauty, internally and externally. Heidi brought joy, laughter, spunk, and plenty of sass into a newsroom on the verge of an evolution. Change forces us to face our fears and insecurity. Heidi taught us how to embrace it.
Whether it was out in the field or in the newsroom, she was there, joking it up, laughing it up, seeing how everybody was doing, always asking you how you were doing, and just enjoyed what she did, which made you as a person enjoy what you're doing with her.
She came here in 2006 as a photojournalist and reporter. She could truly do it all, and she showed us how.
And was also the first MSJ we had that did her own work, shot her own packages, written, did everything. She was the very first. She had the work ethic, and she had the talent that she was always to succeed.
She captured the quirky, the incredible, and the memorable. She was fearless, traveling to the Yukon to follow the coldest and toughest 430-mile race in the world. And vulnerable, sharing her story of discovery, meeting her biological father at age 30. She was creative, too, taking on a new project here called Metro Mix, and eventually starting her own company. Mostly, Heidi was Heidi, a rare mix of talent and authenticity. Her friends and her husband were able to view life through her lens, one filled with beauty and that unforgettable laugh.
She was always positive, and that's one thing I always loved about it, even when she was going through the last year of her life. I guess the positive attitude is what is unique that everybody can learn from her.
She was something. If only we could all tap into our own inner Heidi, this world would be a much happier place.
Douglas County is one of Colorado's wealthier spots. It's certainly not immune, though, to issues of hunger and poverty. An estimated 177,000 kids there struggle with hunger, according to the nonprofit Hunger Free Colorado. Our Byron Reed looks at what's being done about that.
Sometimes it takes asking questions.
It's not seen as a problem here, but it really, really is.
To figure out how to give back.
I've been working on it since probably last summer, really doing the research and understanding what the need was and whether it was something that we could wrap our arms around and actually do.
June Everett is a parent of 2 students at Thunder Ridge High School and wanted to help with an issue she saw throughout the Douglas County School District.
So in the entire Douglas County School District, we're looking at about over 5,000 students. And Thunder Ridge alone, they have 117 students who are on the free or reduced lunch program. Yeah, so once you're on the website...
So Everett started a Backpack Society, a new nonprofit focused on ending weekend hunger district-wide.
Every week we'll be providing a backpack to students which have enough for 3 meals per day to cover the entire weekend.
She says the goal is to provide backpacks of food to every school in Douglas County, starting this spring with a pilot program at Thunder Ridge High School.
Teachers know firsthand. They see the students coming in hungry, and they pay so much out of their pocket to help these kids on so many other levels, much less buying a box of granola bars and keeping it in their desk for them. And that's what they're doing today.
We're really excited to have our community partner with us here at our school to meet those student needs.
Jessica McCaig is one of the high school's intervention specialists and says this program will help their students in the classroom.
We know that students receive a better education when their tummies are full and when they've been well rested, and so we want to make sure that all of our community comes around to partner with one another.
Everett says she hopes to address an issue that may get overlooked.
And in Douglas County, it's not something that goes hand in hand.
By helping out students, one school at a time. For Next.
It's sad to think of a child missing 1 meal, much less an entire weekend worth.
I'm Byron Reed.
I should clarify, I misspoke when I introduced Byron's report. The 177,000 kids estimated to be struggling with hunger, it's a statewide estimate. In Douglas County, the Backpack Society's pilot program will start with 20 children, hope for more than 100 next school year, and on until the need is met. A good catch by a few of you in our conversation about updated state ID cards. We'll talk more about that and your feedback next. The McIlvains, Joe Scullion, Beth Enderly all wrote in with essentially the same question tonight, wondering if they have a Blackstar on their state ID, whether that is also compliant with the new rules. Yes, it is. Gold or Blackstar on your ID and you're good. Don, Josie, and Addie all wrote in with very kind condolences for Heidi McGuire's family, friends, and former colleagues. We appreciate all of your kind words. See you next time.